Alright, so for comparison, because some folks were maybe a little put off with my showing what the grave sites were like in Cedar Hill, here's Fern Hill for comparison. Over there, that's the pavilion or the rest house. Turn of the century, the beginning of the 19th century or so, that's when people started taking the streetcars out here to the cemetery, because the uptown is three miles away, so they'd take the streetcar out here. They'd come and they'd spend the day visiting relatives, tending to the site if they had to or what have you, and sit up there and have their packed lunch waiting for the streetcar to go home. That's just a little piece of history for y'all. Now, moving on, this is one of the installments, if you will, for military folk here in Fern Hill. A nice plaque, and that is that was sorry, spider web right in front of me. This monument was erected by the IODE, and here you'll see how these grave sites are maintained. And in here, they are all the dead from World War I and World War II specifically. There are grave sites, other locations throughout the Fern Hill Cemetery, where military folks are laid to rest. But this is specific to World War I and II. And you can see how well maintained they are. And I get that, these are actual headstones and not footplates or whatever you want to call them. But here are some of the footplates. I've taken a few stills. I'm trying not to stop and focus too much on names at this point. And you see that there are some little decorations on there too, and they're still, you can see them all. It carries on. More headstones up here, and they're laid out in the row by row fashion. There is some bling, for lack of a better term. That's my term, what we did with Dad's grave. It's his resting place here. Have something pretty to look at. So you can see, right, like, just looking around, you can see how well maintained everything is here. This is one of our favorite places. There's more flat headstones up there. You can see every one of them. I think there was one. The worst that I could see was a little corner of the footplate. What was not like. Yeah, you had to push a little bit of the grass away, but I mean, it wasn't growing on it. This is something that I take pretty seriously, because, being a veteran myself, even though I don't like to use that term, but, I did dedicate a decade of my life to the service of this country. Should I go into a grave site like that, I don't think I'd be too happy knowing that I was not perpetually maintained, okay? So yeah, it's a little bit of a personal thing for me. So as you can see, like, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Fern Hill. It's a little dark. It's a little after 7 o'clock at night. Maggie was a little bit rambunctious, so we decided to bring her down here for a little walk before the settling in for the ball game. And if you're not familiar with Fern Hill, please do yourself a favor and come in here. It's very it's historically speaking, it's wow, you could spend weeks in here and not really know everything that there is. There's a story behind that water fountain, and I and I cannot remember it right now. But that's okay, because you don't need any more of a history lecture from me about that. So, again, I've walked back here, and I don't know if I can do this justice, how the video is going to go for that one, but you can see that's just the one section dedicated to the war dead of the First and Second World Wars only. Also in this cemetery, if you're so interested, is one of the only Canadians to ever receive the American Medal of Honor. He was actually in the Spanish-American War. His grave is located closer to the Westmoreland side in there. If you want to go online, you can get you can search a walking map for the cemetery itself, and do yourself a favor and come for a walk in here. Even on a not so nice day, it's still pretty quiet.